The free market concepts are true. They are not so much a theory or an idea as an observation of how the market actually functions. You will see the voluntary forces of free market attempt to function in every single market, regardless of other forces in the market. These attempts may not be successful, but the attempts to obey the free market forces are apparent. The idealized free market is undeniably ideal. It is that way by definition. While the basic concepts of the free market are true and based on observation, the ideals are not. The ideal market may look good on paper, but it does not function in reality. Any attempt to fabricate such a market will fail because the ideal conditions for the ideal market cannot exist. There are two core conditions needed for an ideal free market. Without these, it cannot function. First is a high level of competition with low barriers for entry. Second, the market needs to be free of coercion by force or fraud. There are insurmountable problems in achieving either of these conditions. The problems in achieving the first condition would take a lot more than 10 minutes to explain. The problems in achieving the second condition are much more apparent, so I will focus on these. You cannot have a market free of coercion by force. Such coercion is both part of the world in which we live and intrinsic of the human condition. Hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, snowstorms, these are all environmental conditions that provide coercion by force. The coercion of these destructive forces of nature should be self-apparent. It is really hard to open up a shop that's 6 feet underwater or nothing but a pile of rubble. Hunger, thirst, and exhaustion, these are intrinsic to the human condition and provide coercion by force. You need to eat or you will die. Since the money used to buy food is the same money used to buy any good or service, these coercive forces echo through all human action. The ideal market, therefore, cannot exist anywhere in the real world or include a human element. There is yet more problems in creating a market without force or fraud. If the market includes people, someone will try to break the rules. How do you deal with people committing fraud? How do you deal with people using coercion by force? The only answer is more force. To deal with a fault in the free market, you must further exploit the faults in the free market in an ever-growing cycle of more force. This cycle of ever-growing coercive force results in much of the overregulation we see today. Now, for some examples in the flaws of the free market idealists' argument. First, the video game industry. To see if it would work in a free market, we must check to see if the conditions are met. The first condition, a high level of competition with low barriers to entry. There are many hundreds of game designers and publishers, if not thousands. To make a new game, you need a computer and some software. This only costs a few $1,000s. You can begin programming with a few months of training. You will not have a great product, but you will have a product. These are very low barriers for entering the industry. Off to a great start, the video game industry passed the first test with flying colors. The second condition, coercion by force. There is no intrinsic coercion to make video games. It is still possible for people to use force or fraud to get you to make video games. These problems exist in every market. So the video game industry is as close to being free market compatible as possible. The faulty argument put forth by many idealists is that since the video game industry, or others similar to it, work very well in almost free market, everything should be an absolutely free market. So let's look at another market and see how it compares. Tap water. More specifically, the distribution of tap water. The first condition is high competition and low barriers for entry. There is a monopoly on tap water distribution everywhere. There is only one set of pipes leading into every house. To enter the market, you would need to lay new pipes. This would require a minimum hundreds of miles of new pipes being installed. The labor to install them, the property rights to install them, this would cost billions of dollars to do. So tap water distribution clearly fails the first condition. There is no competition and the barrier to entry is very high. The second condition, free of coercion by force or fraud. Drink water or die. Yep, coercion by force intrinsic to the human condition. More than that, shower daily or be a social outcast. You can't do that very well with bottled water. Tap water distribution clearly is not suited to a free market. These two conditions can be asked about any market, and farther from meeting these conditions, the farther from free market compatible it is. Free market is not a catch-all for every market or a perfect solution for any market.